Welcome to Blueprint IoT. In this video, we will learn all about Kirchhoff's first law, which is basically all about a node, so all about an electrical intersection in a circuit. So the law itself says something like the sum of the currents flowing into the node must equal the sum of the currents flowing out of the node. So that's what's understood as Kirchhoff's first law. By the way, Kirchhoff, it was an originally German guy and it's actually pronounced Kirchhoff. But never mind, we will go with Kirchhoff. So looking at the node now, we have basically one current, I1, flowing into the node and then subsequently I2 flowing out of the node as well as I3 flowing out of the node. I would say that's a very typical arrangement that you would find in simple circuits where, for example, two resistors follow now in parallel. So what Kirchhoff's law is saying is basically that I1 equals I2 plus I3, which is quite logical. Where does the current go? It flows into the node and then it flows out of the node. When we look at the analogy with water, if you have water flowing into an intersection, it flows out of the intersection via I2 and I3 in this case. So I2 and I3 must be the total flow of water or of electricity must equal I1 that goes into it, because we can't create energy out of nowhere. But looking at a little bit a more complex intersection, so we have still I1 flowing into the node and we still have I2 and I3 flowing out of the node. We now also have I4 and I5, which are both in this case flowing into the node. So now it gets a bit more complicated. Looking at the formula again, all the currents flowing into the node have to be a positive current and all the currents flowing out of the node are considered negative, because Kirchhoff's law is not necessarily saying that I1 equals I2 plus I3. What it actually says is that the sum of the currents must be zero eventually. So what you actually do as a first step is you say, okay, I1 plus I4 plus I5, so all the currents flowing into the node minus all the currents flowing out of the node minus I2 minus I3, that must equal zero. And from there on, then you can obviously easily bring the negative currents to the right hand side by just adding I2 and I3, and then you have the currents in balance. So to sum it up a bit more easy is basically currents can't disappear into nowhere. And that's all that Kirchhoff's first law is saying basically. So it's pretty simple, and it sounds pretty simple here, and that's basically all you need to understand. But let's take it to an example to actually see how you can apply this in a circuit, because I think that's where it's getting a little bit interesting. So let's assume we just have a very standard DC circuit. So we have at the top, we have the plus voltage, then we have a resistor, then we have our node in yellow here, splits off into two resistors, but then it splits off again into two resistors in parallel. And then eventually we end up at the negative pole and we have ground. So far, a relatively simple resistor circuit. We could easily add up resistors and commonize resistors and so on. It's simplify the circuit, and then we could calculate whatever we want. But let's look at the values that we have actually given. Obviously, the supply voltage here is given with 12 volts, and the question is I3. That's what we want to find out. The current that flows through the resistor in the lower right corner. We have given the resistor at the top, which is 80 ohm. Then we have this resistor, which is 25 ohms. We measured the voltage. At the top it was 8 volts. On the 25 ohm resistor it was 1 volt. And that's basically it. Also the voltage here we measured on our actual resistor, because voltage measurement also in reality is always very simple. Multimeter you can just measure while operating, and easy measurement basically. But the current flowing here is something that we need to find out, and also obviously the resistor down there is what we eventually want to know. We want to know the resistance of the resistor at the bottom, because resistors can't be measured as easily. You need to disassemble the resistor out of the circuit to actually measure the resistance. So if you don't know it yet, or if it's not written on the resistor, it's quite hard to find out. If you're wondering why that is, check out our video about exactly that, how to measure resistors correctly. So we have a couple of currents here going into the node, going out of the node. The one out of the node is I3. That's what we need to know to be able to calculate our missing resistance value. And then we have those two resistors over there, which we know nothing about. No resistance, we haven't measured the voltage, and so on and so on. And even if you would have measured the voltage, it's not really helpful for us in this case. So let's try to find out. So first off, we need our basic formula in electrical engineering, which is voltage equals resistance times current. And in our case, we want to know the current. Actually, we're now trying to find out the current that flows through the very first 80 ohm resistor. So we want to find out eventually the current flowing into the node, which in our case we call it I1, which would then be 8 volts divided by 80 ohms. Pretty simple calculation. We end up with 100 milliamps. So I1 we settled. So now thinking about Kirchhoff's first law, we basically only need to find out I2, the one flowing into the left-hand section of the circuit, and then we can automatically know I3. Also here we are lucky because the two resistors in the purple circle, they are not relevant for us, because the current we can already calculate based on the 25 ohm resistor, which is again a relatively simple calculation. I2, let's call it I2, equals 1 volt divided by 25 ohms, and then obviously we end up with 40 milliamps. So also I2 we determined now 40 milliamps. And again, the cool thing about first law of Kirchhoff is that we don't need to worry about the complicated, let's say quote unquote complicated parallel circuit there of the two resistors in the purple circle. We don't need to worry about them. We don't need to calculate, we don't need to measure them, whatever, because the current that flows into this section of into this branch of the circuit is enough for us to now easily calculate I3, because I1 is plus because it flows into the node, minus I2 because it flows out of the node, and minus I3 that also flows out of the node. And all that needs to equal 0. So now, very simple operation, we want to know I3. So I3 can go to the right hand side, so it's I3 equals I1 minus I2. So let's put in the values. I1 is 100 milliamps minus I2 40 milliamps equals I3. So I3 equals 60 milliamps. And last but not least, we determined now I3, so we can now calculate very easily R, the resistor that we are looking for, which is 4 volts divided by our now known I3, so divided by 60 milliamps, and then we end up with 67 ohms more or less. And that's all you need to know about Kirchhoff's first law. It's pretty simple actually. It's just a concept that you need to understand, that everything that flows into a node needs to flow out of a node. Everything that flows into a node is a positive current. Everything that flows out of a node is a negative current. And by that, you can very easily then very quickly determine where the current's going and what should be the missing current. Obviously, you can apply this to much more complex circuits, but I think this one is a good middle ground. Not too easy, not too hard to understand how it can be useful and how you can apply this law in reality. I hope this was helpful to you. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please subscribe and check out all our other videos in our playlist about basics of electronics and electrical engineering, where we cover many more of those topics in a very simple explanation. So thanks for watching and see you next time for Kirchhoff's second law.